Well, I'll put my TV on mute.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Inclusion Matters podcast with Inclusion Pro Wrestling. Tonight is going to be a different night. We don't have a guest tonight, so we're just going to come in and do sports and wrestling talk. And like I thought, we lost our... So, ladies and gentlemen, we're only on YouTube tonight. We have lost our Facebook because we changed the name of the room. So, bear with us. We'll get started here in just a second. And, okay. So, as always, I am joined by the man on the bottom who actually doesn't look like he's wearing pajamas today, who doesn't really have an afro today, who actually has an annoying Urkel-type Screech voice. So when you get him riled up, he sounds like Screech and Urkel combined. So if Steve Urkel and Screech from Saved by the Bell had a child, it would be Principal Tap. Maybe that's why Principal Tap reminds me so much of Principal Belding on Saved by the Bell. Of course, we have the crippled Messiah. Nah, today I'm not going to do the orange juice, orange loving freak, Orange Cassidy joke. Okay, never mind. I threw it in. But ladies and gentlemen, it's almost time for my favorite month of the year, October, which means it's time to start talking about spooky holidays, and our entire month of October we're going to call Spooktober. And of course, with Halloween and October comes the ever-loving marshmallowed Peeps. And those beautiful tasting candy corns. And anybody who knows the crippled Messiah, I will send you his address and his room number. He loves Peeps and candy corn. So if you guys could just start sending him, if you guys could just start sending him that, it would be greatly appreciated. So, and then of course, I am the Heartbreaker, and of course we all know why, because I'm better than both of them, and they all know it. So, let's go ahead, and again, ladies and gentlemen, Crippled Messiah, 1500 3rd Avenue. Send it to Nathan Noss.
No.
Candy corns and Pete. 1500 3rd Avenue, Longview, Washington, 98632. That's right. Send him a box of Peeps. Send him a box of candy corns. Send him a box of caramel candy corns. We don't care. Just send him the candy corns and Peeps. So now, on to the show.
Well, first of all, please do not send me the Peeps or those disgusting candy corns. If you want to send me anything with chocolate. So before we get into wrestling, we're right in the middle of football season. And because I was born in Colorado, but I now live in Washington and have pretty much all my life, I would be remiss, and I apologize to all our fans and friends in Colorado for saying this. No, really, I don't. About how bad your Denver Broncos got killed last night by 50 points against the Miami Dolphins. Yes, that's right. We're not talking a college game. We're talking an NFL football game where the guy that you guys thought was going to be your guys' savior, Russell Wilson, when you guys gave us everything to get him, stunk it up so bad that you guys lost by 50 points.
And our friends in Colorado, this comes from a man whose baseball team isn't even going to make the playoffs this year.
They have a better chance of making the playoffs than the Broncos do.
So, and unlike the man, talking like paint's drying and insulting the Denver Broncos, who still have more Super Bowl titles or more Super Bowl appearances than his football team ever will. You know, the Messiah talks a lot, and he talks a lot of smack, you know. There's this lady up in Washington State, you know, the owner and promoter of CPW, who is going to crack him in the face or on the head with a kendo stick the next time she sees him because he doesn't know how to shut his mouth. So fans in Colorado, Killian, dude, my brother, yeah, you might have lost to a woman, but if you want to beat him up for dissing on the Broncos, please come do it. Kate Aver, same thing with you. You know, I mean, Killian, I'll even walk you into his room because they can't keep me out.
You can't get mad at somebody for telling somebody the truth. How do you justify losing in an NFL game when you get paid millions of dollars when you lose by 50 points? Think about that for a minute. 50 points. It wasn't a video game. It would actually make more sense if it was a video game. It was an actual NFL game where they get paid millions of dollars and they lost by 50 points.
Okay. Every Bronco has their day.
Ain't gonna be this season.
But, you know, I mean, should we really go there? Because your beloved Ducks, yeah, in fact, let's go there. Your beloved Ducks, who beat the Colorado Buffaloes, who I believe is a Colorado team.
Yes, it is
going to be the number 1 draft pick in the NFL in 2024. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me give you, ladies and gentlemen, this is not a spoiler. This is a fact. Thank you, Paul Haven, for letting me steal your line. With the first pick of the 2024 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Bo Nix, quarterback, Oregon.
And I agree. And at least then, Sean Payton, because unless they fire him, which they might, would have a talented quarterback because Russell Wilson's best years were in Seattle. Russell Wilson needs to retire, maybe become an offensive coordinator, and guide a younger quarterback to the promised land. Obviously, he doesn't have it anymore. You can't say that it was because of the new system because this is his second year in it. Speaking of that, before I give Principal Tapp a chance to say something, Pete Carroll should feel vindicated right now because when Russell Wilson left, people were blaming the fact that it was, or saying that it was Pete Carroll that caused the bad last season that Russell Wilson had. You can't really say that anymore if Russell Wilson's still having a crappy season 2 years into his run in Denver. More of the responsibility would have to go to Russell Wilson than Pete Carroll. Principal Tapp, your thoughts?
Let's just say that Russell Wilson leaving Seattle was a huge mistake. But now that I look at it 2 years later, I think Seattle is going to be doing better without him. And Russell Wilson, no offense, I'm sure the NFL can put together an old-timers game.
That's a good line. Honestly, I'm going to make a bold statement here, and you guys can roast me at the end of the seasons for saying this all you want. I don't care. In my opinion, Geno Smith is going to lead the Seahawks to the playoffs for the next 4 years until the Seahawks get a chance to either get a better quarterback or not. But the fact that Geno Smith knows that system and they're building around him shows me that he's probably going to get us at least into the playoffs. Maybe not take us to the Super Bowl like we were twice before, but for the next at least 4 years, because then, age-wise, Geno Smith would start to progress or regress. I guarantee you, and I'm making a guarantee now, and you guys can rake me over the coals for it later if you want to, if it doesn't come out that way, that the Seahawks will make the playoffs every year for the next 3 to 4 years.
And ladies and gentlemen, if that don't happen, the Messiah will personally retire from the podcast.
That I didn't agree to.
Then we won't have to listen to Paint Dry no more.
So, Mr. Supposed Heartbreaker, what's your thoughts on my last statement? So was that laughter of agreement or not?
Why don't we just stick to wrestling knowledge, the thing that you know the best, Mr. Messiah? I mean, when it comes to other sports, you kind of don't really have a good track record. I mean, shall we take baseball, for example? You're rooting for the only team that has not had a World Series in their career. The only team in Major League Baseball that has never been to one World Series ever.
Yet.
I mean, at least Principal Tapp can say that his team that he roots for has been to the World Series on numerous occasions and won numerous world titles. At least me, I can say that I root for a team that has been National League East champions for the last decade. That's right. Decade. That's right. Decade.
And I'm not going to argue with the Braves because unlike Principal Tapass's Dodgers, at least the Braves didn't buy their championship.
They never bought their championships. They had a good manager in Tommy Lasorda. He knew where the talent was. And that's how he got his team, that team where it was today.
I'm not talking about Tommy Lasorda. Even though that man ate more donuts and worried more about where he was going to get his next cheeseburger than he did managing a baseball team. I'm talking about the fact that the general manager keeps buying up the best free agents. Hence, like the New York Yankees, they're buying their championships. Unlike the team that I root for, which is, in my opinion, and this will get a reaction out of the Heartbreaker, I'm sure, is building a team like the Atlanta Braves in the sense that they're building it from their farm system up. Your thoughts, Heartbreaker?
The Mariners building their team from the minor leagues up. The only thing that the Mariners have left in their minor leagues was their pitching, and they just brought that in this year. And they're still not going to make the World Series with that minor league homegrown talent. Unlike, before you cut me off, unlike the Atlanta Braves, who didn't have their starting three pitchers for the beginning of the year, and all their minor leaguers came in, and they're still the only team in in all of baseball with 100 wins, ladies and gentlemen. And this is with them not starting with with Kyle Wright and Max Fried for the entire year. They just came back, and Max. Now they're going to not have Max and Morton for the divisional playoff. And ladies and gentlemen, I still say the Braves are going to win that divisional series in 3 games. Yes, in 3 games.
Max Fried is a loss. Charlie Morton, to me, is the weakest member of your guys' pitching staff.
Charlie Morton was the one that kept them in it while Fried and Wright were out with injuries. So Morton's had a lot of pitching on that arm. And Morton was the one that I believe, wasn't he the one that beat the Astros in 2021 at the World Series? Wasn't he the one that was on the mound when that happened? I believe so. So the weakest link, come on. That is like saying Julio is the weakest link in the Mariners organization. And everybody said the Braves wouldn't do good. Oh, you lost Freddie Freeman. Freddie who?
You guys upgraded with Matt Olson anyway.
Freddie who? Shit, what's he done for the Dodgers this year except stunk it up?
Nothing.
I mean, Matt Olson's on a frickin' tear. 50-plus home runs?
So, Principal Tap. Freddie Freeman's part of your team now, so would you like to rebuttal Mr. Heartbreaker's statement?
He can't rebuttal because he knows it's the truth.
Unfortunately, as much as I love my Dodgers, I do have to agree with the Heartbreaker on that.
That's right, because I'm better than both of you guys, and you need to fucking know it.
And here's the thing, though. You said that the Mariners won't have a chance to make it to the World Series. I disagree. If they can make it into the playoffs with the pitching staff that they have, and everybody knows that pitching is a big key in postseason baseball, the Mariners have a chance of going far in the playoffs.
I don't know. The Mariners are 3 games behind now. And tonight they have Castillo on the mound.
Castillo. But is that in the wild card or is that in the division?
It is not. Does not look like wild card yet.
Because I'll concede they're probably not going to win the division. But what I'm saying is all they really need to do is make it into the playoffs, and they can make a solid run in the playoffs.
Well, the Houston has to lose. Oh, what did I see? The Houston has to lose today. They have to lose. Houston has to lose today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, probably, for Seattle to be tied with Seattle or go past Seattle on games behind.
And Houston is playing Seattle for those.
Yeah. Houston. It's Houston and Seattle for a 3-game series. And then Thursday they play Texas. So in order for Seattle to get into the playoffs, they have to knock off the Astros and the Rangers.
Which I think they can, even though they lost 3 to Texas a few days ago. There's still a chance. So let's talk about the Blazers for a minute. And I don't know if the Heartbreakers saw this, but ESPN is reporting that the Toronto Raptors are now the leading candidates for Damian Lillard.
I heard something else about that.
My question to you two is, what in the world would Toronto have that Portland would want? Heartbreaker, your thoughts?
See, that's the mystery of it all. There has to be other teams involved, and I somehow still think Lillard's going to Miami.
The only way go ahead.
I'm hearing different about. I'm hearing that the NBA put a block on Lillard going anywhere for another 2 years, and find him a huge amount of money.
No.
For even talking with Miami. That's what I've been hearing.
No, what they said was, because Lillard's agent said that he wouldn't want to play anywhere else other than Miami. And all the NBA said was, you can't veto another trade, and you would have to go play wherever Portland trades you.
See, and now that makes more sense from what I heard.
But ultimately, I think Portland's going to get 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s from Miami and from another team. And another team is going to throw in number 1s and number 2s. Toronto's going to get some players. I'm hearing Hero and a couple others. Portland's going to get the players that they want. A third team's going to get involved, and then Lillard's going to Miami.
But the question is, what would be the players that Portland would want?
I've seen it on there before. I cannot remember who they were.
The only one to me that would be worth it for Miami, and I don't think Miami would want to get rid of this guy, would be Adebayo.
No, they're not players from Miami. They're players from other teams that are coming to Seattle or to Portland. The only thing that Miami is giving up to Portland are the picks.
See, I don't know if that would be worth it if I was the general manager of Portland. It would depend on what the players are for the other team.
It's been a proposed trade for the last couple of weeks. It's been talked about heavily.
It just confused me when I heard Toronto, because they already got rid of Fred VanVleet, so I didn't know who Toronto had. That if it was, I didn't hear about the other teams. So
there's always been 4 teams that are involved.
I just didn't see any players on Toronto that would have been worth, Portland getting rid of Damian Lillard. So let's talk about some wrestling now, since this is a wrestling podcast, although we do like other sports. There's been some talk that Matt Riddle might be going back to MMA. Maybe the PFL. Or the F1 promotion. I think that might be the best move for Matt Riddle because of the baggage that he still has. I think and the reason I say that is because MMA doesn't really care if you have baggage as long as you can fight. Unlike pro wrestling, where if you have baggage in it, it comes out, it can be really damaging to your career. I think that I think that if Matt Riddle stays away from wrestling for maybe a year and a half, then he could probably make a return and be okay as long as he gets his personal life in order. Because right now he's kind of messed up. Cap, your thoughts?
All I can say is whatever Matt Riddle does, he'll be good at it no matter what.
You know, and I thought about this today when I was hearing this, and I'll tell you who my source was. It was Flat Rock Wrestling on YouTube. On there, I thought because of the type of characters that they play, if he was going to go to any wrestling promotion right now, like straight away once his non-compete clause goes away, I can see him going to Impact and rejoining up with the Rascals. And I say rejoining up because if you remember NXT, he was the shaman of MSK, which was the Rascals.
Yeah.
When they were the tag team champions. And if part of the problem was that, you know, he likes to smoke marijuana, which is legal in quite a few states, then with the character that the Rascals play in Impact, it would fit perfectly.
Yeah. I can see that.
Heartbreaker, your thoughts?
I like the bro. I like the original bro. I never thought there was anything wrong with him. WWE, you know, I'm just going to be real. All of this salary dump with the WWE was for one reason and one reason only. They say they're cutting salary because it's the Endeavor merge into TKO Enterprises. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let the WWE pull wool over your eyes. They did that move for one reason and one reason only. And Mr. Messiah and Mr. Tapass know the same reason. It's for one man and one man only. The best in the world at the time, Mr. CM Punk. That was the reason WWE dropped all that salary so they could bring in CM Punk. So WWE, shame on you for trying to fool your fans. WWE, shame on you for breaking the kayfabe of everything and releasing everybody because, you know, fans aren't stupid marks. Okay? And I, for one, being a fan, am tired of being called a stupid mark by everybody that thinks that we don't know what the fuck we're talking about. So you know what? Big companies need to learn fans aren't stupid. You guys do everything and say it's for budget cuts or for this or for that. Hello. We know there's the biggest free agent out there in CM Punk. We know he isn't going anywhere else. He won't work for Impact. AEW, they fired him. But I'll get into AEW in a minute. WWE, you've already been there. You've already had him there. He held your company hostage. He held your world title hostage. Okay? I didn't say anything negative about him. Although AEW did give him the bad end of the stick. You know, CM Punk, the reason they dumped all that money was so they could throw it at you, my man. So this may still be a rumor and this may still be a speculation, but in the next, I'm going to say probably by the next pay-per-view, WWE welcomes back CM Punk. And that was because of all the releases that they did this last week. You're welcome.
Well, I'd like to get on a soapbox about somebody in AEW, but would you like to make your point about AEW first?
AEW. Much like WWE, should cut some of their salary. And the salary they need to cut are the Hung Bucks. Because as long as the Hung Bucks are in AEW, things like the travesty of CM Punk are going to continue. There's another rumor, though, that Mr. Tony Khan may be purchasing another wrestling company here in the very near future. Well, probably by next weekend. I don't know if you've heard that one yet, Messiah, but here we go. Rumor has it, Tony Khan is about to purchase New Japan Pro.
That would explain why he's doing the tribute show at Dream Slam, or not Dream Slam, Wrestle Dream.
Now, excuse me now correct me if I'm wrong here. Didn't they shun Vincent McMahon for trying to monopolize the wrestling market?
Yep.
Yes.
Back when he was buying WCW and all that, didn't they shun him for monopolizing the wrestling market? So all these years later, why is it okay? Because I'm a billionaire, I can go and buy ROH, or I can go and buy New Japan Pro Wrestling. Aren't you monopolizing the wrestling world?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Aren't you trying to monopolize the wrestling world? I mean, Tony, you just lost your biggest star in CM Punk. And now you're trying to cover by not paying Punk the money that he's deserved and going out and buying another company? Shame on you. And you know whose idea that probably was? That was probably the Hung Bucks idea. Go buy us all the titles in New Japan, Tony. Go buy us all the titles in New Japan. But, I'm still not done with the soapbox. But, I'm going to let my friend and paint dry because I need a nap. Messiah, talk. Well, maybe. Maybe not. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing. You talked about some talent that he should cut. Mine's not a talent that he should cut. The person that needs to be let go in AEW, in my opinion, because in my opinion, he's making refereeing a joke, is Mr. Rick Knox.
Again, my point exactly. Wasn't he the referee that cost Punk not one but two major injuries in AEW?
Yes, and he's doing it again because
And
look
now,
at what happened to Mr. John Moxley.
Didn't he just single-handedly concuss John Moxley?
Yes. Now, here's what I'm wondering. Mr. Rick Knox, is it because you have a bald head, sir, that you can't figure out how to count to two when you see your reflection in the mat off your bald head and can't figure out what comes after one? I mean, seriously. Phoenix, who is one of the most talented wrestlers in the world, is the one that's getting the heat for concussing John Moxley? No, sir. Phoenix should never, ever get any of the blame for concussing John Moxley. The blame for concussing John Moxley should come down to one person and one person only, and that is Rick Knox.
Especially especially after Moxley was yelling at the referee, pin me, count, count. I can't kick out. You heard that blatantly on the broadcast.
Yeah, and what's he do? He stopped and acted like he was checking the shoulders. Why do you need to check the shoulders if they're pressed up against the mat? He had to literally lift up his left shoulder, if you go back and watch it, to get his hand underneath there. This is an amateur hour, Mr. Knox.
And then that caused Moxley to yell at Phoenix to do it again.
Because he had to make it look good.
Because he had to make your mistake look good. And that is why Phoenix is taking all the damn heat. Because Moxley had to tell him to do it again.
Mr. Knox, you have those referee shirts, and that's fine. Take those referee shirts and go work at Foot Locker, because that's all you're talented enough to do.
Now, moving
Principal,
on from
your thoughts? Sorry, before you move.
Yep,
I agree. The referee screwed up. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
And now look at look where the position that Tony Khan's put himself in. And yes, I say Tony Khan because he doesn't have the balls enough to fire anybody unless it gets really bad. You have Jon Moxley, who arguably is your biggest star right now, behind Bryan Danielson or MJF. Who now is out with the concussion. You have your biggest international star, because you're not doing anything with Andrade, which is a crime, by the way. And Rey Fenix. Because right now, he's a bigger star in AEW than his brother is. And now he's getting heat that some people are going to believe. For what? To save a referee? It makes no sense to me.
No, I agree. It doesn't make sense at all. Now, on a different subject.
Well, hang on. Heartbreaker, did you want to move on to something else?
No, I mean, if you guys want to keep going with that, this is great. Go ahead, Pat.
Let's talk about Nia Jax. How she botched that bonsai drop.
I'm glad you brought that up. Nia Jax, I am not going to take anything away from you. People call you an unsafe worker. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, because especially in the women's division, and this isn't a slam on any woman, so please don't come after me for saying this. You need somebody that looks different, i.e. a Shotzi, i.e. a Raquel Rodriguez or a Nia Jax. Otherwise, there's a lot of people in the women's division, especially in WWE, that look exactly the same. Not saying they're not talented, but they look exactly the same. So do I think that Nia Jax needs to be in the WWE? Absolutely. Would I have her keep doing the bonsai drop, which was your original point? Absolutely not. Why? Because like you said, she doesn't hold on to the ropes like Rikishi or like Yokozuna did, so that she can guide herself down so that it's a safer move. The better move for her to do, if you remember her last run in WWE, was that headbutt powerbomb, where she would pick them up like a choke slam, headbutt them, which plays into her Samoan heritage, and then powerbomb them afterwards.
And I agree with you on that. I'm just talking about how she botched that bonsai drop and hurt the world champion. I think if she goes back to Rikishi and get him to teach her how to do the bonsai drop more safely, I could see a very effective move for her.
Yes, and I agree with that also. But here's the thing: I like when people that are part of a family, like Nia Jax is, have their own original moves, right? Like, why is it that every Uso or every Samoan has to do the Samoan splash? Not that it's not a great move, and I'm all for paying heritage to your family and homage to your family, but stand out on your own, right? Like, I don't mind, like, Solo doing the Samoan spike because that's an homage to Umaga, and he still makes that his own, right? But I mean, come on. You have every Samoan doing the Samoan splash. And I'm not talking just in WWE. I'm talking about like any Samoan that's in like other companies. Eventually you'll see them do like the Samoan splash as their finisher. And it gets to the point where like you're like, well, that guy's Samoan. His finisher probably at one point, or his original finisher is gonna be the Samoan splash.
And I agree. However, I'm wondering, did the Usos actually mimic the Samoan splash, or did they just copy it from the late Jimmy Snuka?
Which is still part of the same family. So it would be the same thing.
Me personally, I thought Jimmy and Jay does the Samoan splash way better than Jimmy did. Way better than Tamina.
I'm not saying they don't do it better. I'm just saying it's predictable. Like every time you see a Samoan wrestler, you know they're gonna eventually do the Samoan splash. And to me, it would be more impactful if they would do some kind of like new variation of a move. Right? Like for example, Zilla Fatu, who I expect some big things from relatively quickly, does the Samoan spike because his dad was Umaga, but he does a lifting version of the Samoan spike. So he like picks him up like a choke slam and then hits him and then finishes the choke slam like off to the side. That's something different. Heartbreaker, your thoughts?
Well, I'm just going to stick with the Samoan family. I don't care about who steals the moves or whatnot. I just want to stick with the Samoan family. One particular person in the Samoan family who hasn't been seen on Raw or SmackDown since his last title defense has now elapsed 1,000 days as champion. I think that storyline's been just a bit too long. I mean, come on, Endeavor. Vince McMahon isn't in charge no more. Take control of your damn company. You know you want to. I mean, you're selling Vince McMahon shares, for crying out loud. The man's out. Don't follow his storylines and let him beat the best wrestler of all time, Bruno Sammartino. Take that damn title off Roman Reigns already. I'll steal a line from Donald Trump. Make WWE great again. Make it to where fans want to watch it again. Because as long as you've got long running champions, even okay, here, I'll even do another one. Even Gunther, it's getting old. I mean, you couldn't even, once you took the titles off the Usos, you couldn't leave the title straps on Sammy and Kevin longer than 2 months. Why is that? Is it because they're not your Samoan meal ticket? And then you go and you break up one of the best tag teams in our generation today, the Usos. Why is that? Because Roman wasn't happy with them? Take away Solo Sikoa. And how long is Roman Reigns going to have that title? But you guys won't do that? Because you're yellow-bellied cowards. You're a UFC mixed martial arts company thinking that you guys know how to run a sports entertainment program. You know what? A bunch of smart marks could run a wrestling promotion better than you guys in Endeavor can. A 1,000+ days as champion is way too long. And Gunther, sir, I don't care how long you've been champion. You should never have overtaken the Honky Tonk Man, ever. Shame on Endeavor for not growing a set and doing their own storylines and ending the dictatorship of Vincent Kennedy McMahon. End rant. And of course, we can't hear Mr. Paint drying, so I'll go ahead and take over again. And oh, maybe we can hear him now. Hello? Hello?
Well, before I say what I'm going to say, could you please say our sponsors so they don't have to hear paint drying, as you would say?
But it's your job to do sponsors, but okay, if you insist. We'd like to thank Kevin Wasson, American Family Insurance. We'd like to thank Uncaged Cycles for being a proud ticket sponsor of Inclusion Pro Wrestling and a sponsor of our toy drive for the kids of the local hospitals in Oregon and Southwest Washington. We'd like to thank Bob's Little Car Hospital, who is also a proud sponsor of of Inclusion Pro Wrestling and our toy drive, and helps us get toys for those kids. And also thanks to the help for the youth for getting money for the local youth group. I want to thank also Doty Gallery Tattoo. Put a nice little tattoo on that nice little polished up forehead there, Messiah, and tell them Small sent you. We'd like to thank El Ranchero's Mexican Restaurant and Los Jalapenos Taqueria, Bruce Nichols Painting, Precision Power Washing, Burgerville of Kelso Longview, the Care Program, Bruce Nichols Painting, American American Tarps Rugged Made. Coming on soon, we'd like to thank Twin Cities Bank. And I believe that's it.
I believe so. Now, getting back to your rant, because I have a couple of thoughts. I agree with you 100% on Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns' title shot should have ended as soon as he signed that new contract that made him a part-time wrestler. And for whoever says he's not a part-time wrestler is an idiot, because that's what he is.
Yep. That he is.
if you ask me, the if he would have stayed healthy and not passed away, the man who I could have legitimately seen having a title shot that would have lasted that long because of the dominance that he could have had would have been Yokozuna.
Oh yeah,
Because
most
at that
definitely.
a man that size, you could have justified him being a champion that long because you could have just played it off of who would have beat him. As far as Gunther goes, I kind of agree with that one, but I kind of don't. At least Gunther's on TV every week.
And at least he's defending his title
On a
more.
pretty regular clip.
Yeah. He's defending the IC belt more than Roman Reigns defending the undisputed championship.
And this is going to get me heat, and I know it is, but he's a better chopper than Ric Flair ever would be and or will be.
Oh, yeah. I think Gunther has the worst chop. I mean, no offense, Nature Boy, but
if you look at the veracity and the sound and the reaction that the people have that he chops,
and the impact that he has of that chop.
Yes.
Because
it is better than Ric Flair's chops ever were and or will be if he ever comes out of his retirement, which he probably will, knowing Ric Flair.
Yeah. Yeah, but speaking of that chop, every time Gunther hits you with that chop, you can see sweat coming off his opponent's chest.
Well, it's hard. It's not that hard to, considering he hits you so hard. Something's got to come off. It's either sweat or skin.
So as we finish up, let's let's turn this around to what I had said before. That's right, Vince McMahon and Endeavor. I said there's a couple of smart marks that can run a promotion better than you. That's right. Because there is. There really, really is. And one day, those marks are going to come knocking on your door and owning your company.
Yep.
And when that happens, for all of the haters that have hated them, and for all of the haters that gave them all the flack, when they come calling and trying to knock on the door, those doors are closed.
Absolutely.
Much like the heat that is on Inclusion Pro Wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Shame, shame on the people that have hated on Inclusion Pro Wrestling and everything that the promoters and owners have tried to do. Without even doing a show, they get hated on, they get heat, they get thrown under the bus. Give them a chance. Let them prove to you what they can do. Let them prove to you what they can do. How dare you knock down a man in a fucking wheelchair? That's right. Because that's what you're doing when you're throwing Inclusion Pro Wrestling under the goddamn bus. You're knocking down a man in a fucking wheelchair trying to live his goddamn dream. Now, how much better are you? Does it make you feel that much bigger knocking down a man in a goddamn wheelchair? Because I know it doesn't me. That's right. That man has a dream just like everybody else to get into the wrestling business, and you're fucking puking on it. You're making him you're making him want to prove even harder and work even that much harder to live his dream. So for you fucking haters, fucking back off, leave him the fuck alone, and let him do the fucking shit that he wants to do. Because if you don't, I've got a bunch of independent wrestlers that would love to show you what they would do to you. And again, ladies and gentlemen, that's not a fact. That's a spoiler. So leave Inclusion Pro Wrestling alone. Let the man live his dream. Let the man put on the best fucking show of his life. And let him prove all of his doubters and his haters wrong. And all you fucking internet trolls that want to get in on his glory after that, we say, fuck you. You had your chance, but you decided to shit on him. I've done a lot of rants tonight. I'm on a roll. I'm fired up. But, you know, here, let's throw something else out at you. There's no independent fucking wrestling there's no independent wrestling company that I know of in the Northwest or even on the West Coast, I believe. Well, except for a couple of the major ones, probably in California. But there's very, very few wrestling companies, independent-wise, that have a TV deal. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? Not only has Inclusion Pro Wrestling blown the fucking roof off of this place and said fuck you to their haters, you tell me, Washington State, you tell me, Oregon, with the exception of a few companies that we love, CPW, you're more than welcome to use Inclusion Pro Wrestling's TV rates anytime you want. RCW, you're also more than welcome to use our TV ratings whenever you guys want. However, the rest of you, go to hell. The rest of you, leave that man alone. At least let him put on a show before you throw him under the bus. At least let him put on a show before you start spewing your hatred. At least let him put on a show before you start tearing down the walls that they don't know what the hell they're doing because they're just fans. Well, fuck you. Didn't Tony Khan start his company 5 years ago as a fan? But you guys don't dog him. You guys never dog Tony Khan. Why dog inclusion? Why? Why would you undog include? Because he's in a wheelchair? Because he's disabled? Because he's different? Because maybe he reminds you of a Eugene character? Well, shame on you. Shame on you. In my personal opinion, the Eugene character was probably one of the smartest characters in WWE. Yes, he might have been used wrong, and yes, people might have thought that they took advantage of his disability. But you know what? It proved a point. People with disabilities, even though they were playing it or not, could work in a professional wrestling industry. So let this man live his goddamn dream. Let this man show you what he can do. Let this man and this man's team put on the show of your guys' life. And if you hate him afterwards, then hate him. But don't hate him until he does something. Don't hate him until he puts out a project. And sure the fuck don't hate him because he got a fucking TV deal before he even ran a first goddamn show. That's right. He got a goddamn TV deal and a newspaper deal before he ran a goddamn show. How many of you independent fuckers can say that?
There's one thing I want to say about that really quick, as I am that person, if anybody hasn't gotten a chance to figure that out yet. As he said, stop running us down before we have a show. And I want to ask you guys a question, and you can answer it or you guys can't. It doesn't matter to me because, you know what? I don't really care what you guys say because I'm still going to live my dream with the people that I want to live it with, and we're going to put on a great show. But for the TV deal, for the newspaper deal, for the flyers, for the ticket sales, which we'll get to in a minute for the people that want to come. How many people could do that laying in a hospital bed from a nursing home? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. That's where I live. I don't live in a house like you live in. I live in a nursing home. But do I let that stop me? No. I put together a successful podcast with Tony's help and with Pat's help from a nursing home. And God darn it, I'm going to put on a successful wrestling show at the Rain Church on November 25th. Doors open at 6 o'clock, bell time at 7. But I will actually be at that one. That one won't be from the bed of a nursing home. Tickets are $25 for ringside, $20 for general admission. And as the Heartbreaker said before, this show not only will benefit me to help me accomplish my dream, but it'll help the Children's Hospital of Portland, specifically Shriners, Dornbeckers, and Randall's Children's Hospital. It'll also help the Rain Church in Kelso, Washington, and their youth group, and it'll be a food drive. So anybody that's wanting to come, please contact either myself at 360-353-9261, the Heartbreaker at 360-560-1498, or the Inclusion Matters phone number for tickets, which is 360-560-2219. Again, that is November 25th at the Rain Church in Kelso, Washington. The address for that is 1209 North Minor Road in Kelso. And doors open at 6, bell time at 7.
Well, with that, there's been enough talk. There's been enough ranting. There's been enough hating. And again, CPW, Miss Yvonne Sieber, we love you. Please, if you have any wanting to use of a TV deal, if we decide to sign, please, we welcome you to join us. Again, haters just hate. Haters are just jealous. But please, don't hate on Nathan. Please, don't hate on Inclusion Pro Wrestling until after that man runs the show. So, with that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and get off of here tonight. We've been on for a little over an hour. So, with that being said, good night, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you very much.